Right, Shalom.
Theologians like the
Shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, Baharakah Kodash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. I'm just going to respond as well to this madness that Vocab Malone was speaking, Subscribe to the Elders channel, man. GMS Vegas Sit Downs 144K. Let's go.
come with. So without further ado, let's listen.
So they were astounded and marveling, saying, Behold, are not all these who are speaking Galileans? How is it then when we each hear them in our language in which we were born? So
yeah, no, in the ancient world, there wasn't, even today, to be honest with you, there wasn't that many multilingual or bilingual people, especially in certain places. All right, it's not like people had readily available schools or Babel to learn other languages. It was pretty much maybe the nobility would learn another language, and that would usually be like the lingua franca. If you go back during the time of the Babylonian captivity, Assyrian, that would have been the lingua franca at the time, I believe, was the Assyrian. During the time of the Greeks, it would have been Greek. And during the time of the Romans, Latin. And then through the British Empire, pretty much English is like the lingua franca. That's the language that most people speak, like especially for business. Everyone kind of learns English. Some people can speak three, especially when it comes to the what they call it, romantic languages. A lot of people can speak a lot of them. If you go into Europe, a lot of people can speak Polish, German. But in the ancient world, if you're talking about the Galileans, most of them, the vast majority of them, would have only spoken Hebrew, and that would have been the only language they would have need to have spoken. All right. So if you wanted to interact with them, you had to learn Hebrew. All right. Now, if you was a merchant or a nobleman, then you might know another language. I'll give you an example of this during the time of the Babylonians, the Jews. What language is it? Speak not unto us. There we go. So this is an example of what I mean. When the Babylonians came, they were speaking the lingua franca of the time, which was the Syrian language. It says, Then said Eliakim the son of Hilkiah and Shebna and Joah unto Rabshakeh, Speak, I pray thee, thy servants in the Syrian language, for we understand it. And by the we, he was talking about the noblemen, the princes that were on the wall. And talk not with us in the Jews' language in the ears of the people that are on the wall. All right. So the common people couldn't speak the Syrian language. They spoke only their own tongue. And so that goes the same way with the Galileans. That's why it was so shocking that they were speaking all these different languages, because it just wasn't how it was. Most people back then spoke their mother tongue, and that was it. A few merchants, maybe a few noblemen, maybe someone who's intermarried. So your mother is, then you might, but to the most part, most people, especially the common people, didn't speak other languages.
what's happening is, and everything I said, I'm going to tie
by the way, the
together,
people that were saying this were Jews that were coming from these different nations, because obviously they still knew they were Israelites, and they went there with their mother tongue, and they retained their mother tongue, but they obviously had to learn the language of the people that they were living among. All right, and then some of them were born among those people, so pretty much their first language was whatever heathen language from wherever they lived. That's why it says, where are we at here? Acts 2:5, it says, and they were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. So now when this was noised abroad, multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. All right, their own language was the language they were born in among the nations. All right, which makes sense. All right, it's just like you get certain cats, they come to the UK and the second generation speak both their mother tongue and English, and by the third generation they can understand certain words, but they pretty much are not fluent in their old mother tongue, or the mother tongue of their grandparents. You know, they can understand a few words here and there and go on holiday, but they just speak English. You get me? Like, come on.
Okay, so hold on. I'm going to tie together the Babel thing because it's a loose end right now. I'm going to tie that together. And I'm also tie in something else.
And the reason he's talking about tying in Babel because it's a loose end. It's not a loose end. It makes complete sense. It's a consistent narrative in the Bible. The Lord's not dealing with all nations coming together as one people. But for him, it's a problem because that's the false gospel that they preach. So the Tower of Babel is like the Lord working against himself, according to them. But if you understand the scriptures, it's absolutely not. The Lord is about the nations being divided.
Later on, so pay attention. Here, they hear the languages and understand them, right? So that's what's called
Yeah, he's about to go into some mumbo jumbo about translation and all this stuff. It's completely irrelevant, but that's what these dudes, they have to do a lot of filibustering to try and do the bait and switch later on down the line.
Right? Anyone ever done?
You make it sound like he's breaking something down, but he's not really. Nothing he's about to say is really relevant to his point.
Translating probably from Spanish to English. Fun times, Marisa, you like doing it? You could, like the kids, it's mid, right? Probably not that fun, and it's difficult to do, especially when you're going back and forth, especially if you struggle with maybe one of the languages. But that is basically translation, one language to another, right? Understand? So what's happening is, this is a simple case of translation. The people hearing don't have a supernatural gift. They're just hearing their language and they understand it. There's no interpretation needed. However, when we get to 1 Corinthians, you're going to find what is required there is not translation. It's interpretation. And the interpretation requires a supernatural gift. That's going to be important. So you got to put that in your back pocket. If you don't have one, you can put it in your purse. If you don't have that, just put it on the seat beside.
This guy is so corny. He lacks charisma, man. It's funny, and he doesn't even know it. Like, just be dry. Just don't try and be anything but what you are. Just be dry. You don't have the ability, bro.
You guys following? So the audience understands these four languages at this event that follows Pentecost. And remember, I talked about in the beginning, there was a Azusa Street revival. Because those people were speaking in tongues, they started calling them the Pentecostals. Because Acts 2 happened around Pentecost, which is like a Jewish holiday. If you want to know more about that?
It's not a Jewish holiday. It's a Israelite high holy day. It's not Jewish. All right? Because the Lord is dealing and has always been dealing with all of the tribes of Israel. He's not just dealing with Judea or the Jews. All right? We've gone past that time period now. It's an Israelite high holy day. When the high holy days was given unto the Israelites, it was not given unto the Jews only. It was given unto the Israelites. All right? Moses was with the Israelites. He wasn't with the Jews in Judea, okay? He should stop playing this Jewish game.
Ask these guys, right? They'll help you. Seriously.
He probably got some Amalekites in the crowd. They don't know.
So that is something that sets off the church. Some people say it's the birthday of the church. Acts chapter 2.
Church don't have no birthday. The church is the congregation, or the holy congregation of Israel. All right? The word church shouldn't be in the Bible. All right? The word that's there, ecclesia, means to call out. The Hebrew version of that word is the kahal. Let's see if I can get it for you, which means congregation. It's nothing to do with the church. The holy congregation that the Lord is dealing with and has always been dealing with. Let's see if it's the right, because there's more than one word for congregation. The kahal. Let's see. That's the Edo note. Let me see. Actually, if I go to... Right. So, yeah, just to make it easier. So, you go to the word church, yeah? All right. And you see here the outline of biblical usage, and they've got a gathering of citizens called out from their homes into some public place. So, that's very generic. An assembly of people convened to the public place or the council for the purpose of deliberating. B, the assembly of the Israelites. That's what it is. The church, which is, again, that word shouldn't even be in the scriptures. The congregation, the holy congregation is the Israelites. The people who have been called out. The called of the Lord, pursuant to the book of Isaiah, are the Israelites. Many are called, but few are chosen. The called are the Israelites. The Lord does not call unto the other nations. All right. And then, so you go down, example here. It's 21 and 8. Oh, go to it. You should get the word kahal, which is the holy congregation. There we go. Quahal. Sorry, quahal. All right. This is the word in the Hebrew. All right. Congregation, assembly, company, congregation, convocation. All right. And it's dealing with the Israelites. All right. It says congregation, assembly, as Genesis 35:11, Genesis 28:3, 48:4, as assembly, a crowd of nations, especially the congregation of the people of Israel. See? All right. So this guy, he ain't got a clue.
As they're hearing this in their own language, there's no need for interpretation because you already have immediate understanding. Now, when we go to Acts 2:9-11, look at this. Parthians, Medes, Elamites, residents of Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, Pontus, Asia, Phrygia, Pamphylia, Egypt, district of Libya, around Cyrene, that's Africa, by the way. Visitors from Rome, both Jews and proselytes, Cretan, Arabs, we hear them in our own tongue speaking of the mighty deeds of God. Notice how it says both Jews and proselytes. A proselyte is a Gentile who converted into the Hebrew people. They took part in the religion.
Well, these were Israelites that came back into their heritage
of Yahweh. That's what a proselyte is, a Gentile who is now part of the house of Israel.
Yeah, a proselyte is a newly convert, all right, of an Israelite who didn't know he was an Israelite.
Yeah, this guy, you can't convert to be from an actual heathen into being an Israelite. You ain't got the ingredients, man. You don't have the blood for it. All right. To be of the holy congregation, you gotta have the blood for it, man. You gotta have the right blood work. You understand?
That once he received the truth, you know, he changed his lifestyle and lived after the manner of the customs of the Jews or the Israelites. That's what a proselyte is.
Yeah, like you could have had a guy who, his parents went, you know, off into the other nations, and you know he grew up Greek, and then but his parents were still, doing what following the customs, and then he came back. That would be a proselyte. Come on, man.
All right. He's going to tell you, that's basically any nation that's not an Israelite that, takes on their customs and now they get to become part of the bloodline. That doesn't make any sense.
Hell no. That's not how bloodlines work. It just ain't how it works, man. It's not how it works. You don't fill in an application to be an Israelite, yeah? You're an Israelite because you're born an Israelite. Simple as that. The seed, all right, according to the seed, and it is what it is, man.
All right, what does it mean to convert? When you actually look up what convert means,
Turn together.
It literally means to return. Matter of fact, I could prove that real quick. Let's go to Isaiah. I think it was 6. Yeah, Isaiah 6 and 10, and it says, "Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and convert and be healed. And this is to the children of Israel. So there was points in times when Jake was lost. All right, and they couldn't see the error of their way, and except the Lord actually put it in their mind to recover themselves, and once they do that, once they acknowledge their offense and come back to the law, statutes, commandments, that means that they've been converted. Like those during the time of Nehemiah and Ezra, you had a bunch of Jake that they intermarried with heathen women. All right, they had wives and children of them, and they ended up repenting. After Nehemiah, reproved them. There was a restoration of everything. They was rebuilding the temple. So what did they do? They accepted their iniquity and took an oath, and basically they put away those wives, and they basically came back to the law, statutes, and commandments. So that meant that they actually converted. All right. So they was living after the manner of the heathen, and then they read the law, and they vowed an oath that they would return back to the Lord. Now here's the word for convert is the Hebrew word shawab. Shawab, and it says hold up. And it says in the definition, it means to return, turn back. To turn back, return.
And you see the difference between when Brothers is teaching and when Volcom Malone is spinning his narratives. You can see the difference, man.
Turn back from, your evil ways, to repent. And we know that repentance is to the nation of Israel. So that's the way that you convert. So only an Israelite can actually be a true convert, because you're returning back to what you were formerly a part of.
Yeah, what you were chosen for from the very beginning. What you are. Who you are. As an Israelite, we are the sons of God. That's who we are. That's who we were created to be. The other nations were not created to be sons of God. It just is what it is, man. Not everybody is a son of God. Not everybody is of the chosen. You got to play the role. You got to play the role you were given. These other nations have a lesser role. Just like the animals and the plants. It is what it is.
All right. So a proselyte is basically an Israelite who at one point in time had fallen away. They were an apostate, but they ended up returning. And all those Jews that was coming back, they were converts.